much. Good evening, Copper Box. Good evening, everyone. Are you? Thank you all very much. Wow, what an enormous crowd. Are you ready for the contest ahead? Are you pumped up? Are you energized and motivated? Well, I sincerely hope so. I sincerely hope so, everybody. I sincerely hope so because we have a national duty between now and 10 o'clock tomorrow night to find every vote we can to save our country from disaster. Because we all know what happened 2 years ago. We know that we cannot trust the opinion polls, and we know that this contest is tight and getting tighter. And tomorrow, the choice for our amazing country could not be starker. Indeed, I can't remember an election in my political lifetime when there has been such a yawning chasm between the two possible futures for this country. We can choose to go forward with a one-nation Conservative government, end the deadlock, lift the clouds, launch ourselves towards a brighter future for the whole country, or else we can remain stuck in neutral, paralysed, lost in years more of deadlock, defeatism, division, and despair caused by what's been caused by. Well, there's only one mathematical alternative, isn't there, to a working majority Conservative government? You know what it is? You know what it is? It's a hung parliament, another hung parliament. That's what we could face on Friday. That's the reality. Look at it. The pollsters are saying it. A hung parliament, a Corbyn-Sturgeon coalition, and a vote for any other party but the Conservative Party would produce that result, or would encourage that result. That's the iron logic of the situation. And that would be an economic disaster for this country, an economic disaster. Look at the irresponsibility of the pledges of Jeremy Corbyn and John McDonnell. John McDonnell, don't forget, is a guy who's so left-wing, so far out there. You know, he was sacked by Ken Livingstone for forging a budget in the GLC. They would raise spending to such extraordinary levels. They put up taxes for ordinary people. Average taxpayer would pay £2,400 more in tax. People on only £20,000 a year could expect to pay £1,000 more in tax. Interest rates would go up as the markets mark down our ability to repay our debts. People's mortgages would suffer. That is the reality of what Corbyn and McDonnell would offer. They want to bring back exchange controls to try and limit the damage. I mean, can you imagine exchange controls? They got rid of exchange controls in Angola. I mean, they still have them in Venezuela, of course. But that is the kind of economics we could expect, and it would be an economic disaster. It would be a political disaster, my friends, because this is an incredible country, our amazing country, second biggest contributor to NATO, a country that is admired, that is loved around the world, a country that guarantees the security, not just of the people in this country, but helps through our alliances to guarantee the security of people across the world. Across the world, that's what the UK does. And imagine the reaction. I can tell you the reaction. If our incredible country, fifth biggest economy in the world, was led by a Hamas-backing, IRA-supporting, anti-Semitism condoning appeaser of the Kremlin. Because that's what he is. That's what he is. And don't you just have to listen to me? Listen to what John Ashworth, his shadow health spokesman, said himself. He said that he would be a risk to national security. And I'm afraid I cannot dissent from that view. And it would be a political disaster, of course, because he would be in coalition, Corbyn would be in coalition with Nicola Sturgeon. And what price would she demand for her support? We know what it would be. It would be another referendum on Scotland, when the people of Scotland were promised in 2014 that this was a once-in-a-generation event. And can you imagine anything like it? Can you imagine? But we know she'd get her way, wouldn't we? Know who wears the trousers, or who would wear the trousers in that relationship. But there's one thing worse than another referendum on Scotland. We know what it is. He would refuse to do something that this country has yearned for us to get on and do for the last 3.5 years. He would refuse to do something that we can do. What is it that we're going to do? We're going to get Brexit done. We're going to get Brexit done. He'd have another referendum on the EU. That's what he would do. And I don't know what you feel, but I think whether you voted Leave or Remain, I think it's time for this country to come together and move on and honour the will of the people of this country. And we can. We can do it, can't we? We've got a deal. As I never tire of telling you, it is oven ready. Or microwave ready, pick your cooking style. Just add hot water. It's there. It's ready to go. Every single one, it's extraordinary fact, every single one of the 630 plus Conservative candidates at this election support this deal. We have come together. And I want to assure the members of the media there has been no sort of North Korean bullying here. Everybody has done it. They haven't been lobotomized. They do it because they can see it's a great deal for our country. Now let me ask you, how many members of Jeremy Corbyn's shadow cabinet support the deal that he is proposing to do? None of them. Not a single one. Quite imagine Act 1, Scene 1 of the Corbyn Premiership when he goes into Brussels and he meets Michel Barnier. And Michel Barnier says, bonjour, Monsieur Corbyn, comment allez-vous? Tell us about the deal you want to do, and who supports your deal? Who supports your plan? Monsieur Starmer, Monsieur McDonnell, Madame Abbott? No? Quoi? It would be farcical. It would be farcical if it were not so catastrophic for this country, and if it didn't mean that the delay and the deadlock continued to be an economic drag anchor on this country. And we can take this country forward. We can get a deal done. We can come out by January the 31st and move on. And then, of course, we can not only take advantage of all the freedoms that Brexit brings, cutting VAT on sanitary products, on tampons, improving our law on animal welfare to give greater protections, which is something the British people have wanted for decades, free ports, free trade deals, having our own, as Pretty rightly says just now, having our own immigration policy that we democratically control. But even more important than that, for our immediate purposes, after 3.5 years, we can give certainty to the UK economy. And there is £150 billion worth of dollars worth of investment waiting to come in to this country just when we get Brexit done on January the 31st and move on. And above all, we can move on. We can move on with the incredible progress that we've made just in the last 130 days, the biggest ever cash boost to the NHS. How many new hospitals are we going to build? 4, correct. 50,000 new nurses, 50,000 more nurses, I should say, while the BBC are checking. 50,000 more nurses we're going to deliver as a result of the plans that we've put in place now. How many more police officers are we recruiting? 20,000 more police. What are we doing with every school, every primary, every secondary school in the country? We're investing, we're lifting up the funding for every primary school, every secondary school in the country, and we're going to get on with our One Nation programme, aren't we? That's what we can do. That's what we can do if we get Brexit done. But we can only do it if we get Brexit done. We've got to get Brexit done if we want to unite and level up our country with fantastic investments in infrastructure, in education and technology, in gigabit broadband, in 5G telephony, spreading hope and opportunity around the whole country. That is what One Nation Conservatives do. That is our vision for the country, to unite it and bring it together. Because I believe, as a Conservative, that talent and genius and flair, intelligence is evenly distributed throughout the whole country. Isn't it? Of course it is. Everywhere. But opportunity is unfairly distributed. And our job as Conservatives is to unleash the potential of the whole country and spread that opportunity around. And we can do all that. And, by the way, have the cleanest, greenest government ever, using our fantastic technology to cut CO2 and cut pollutions. But we can do all these things. We can do all these things with sensible, moderate policies that allow us to give the British people not just cuts in national insurance, but a tax lock on any increases in VAT or income tax. We will not increase those 3 taxes, and that is the choice. That is the choice. That is the choice that this country faces, and it's very, very clear and it's very, very stark. We are a party, we are a government, a One Nation government that backs our police, that thinks that people who commit serious sexual violence offences or are guilty of terrorism should face tough sentences. We support our armed services. We believe they're a force for good around the world, as I say. We want to strengthen our MI5 and our security services that keep us safe. We believe in NATO, that keeps 29 countries, 1 billion people safe around the world. We support business and enterprise. We want to cut We want to cut taxes on small businesses. We want to cut business rates because we think that's the way to drive a strong economy. And we understand that it's only by having a strong economy, it's only by having a dynamic business culture that you're able to pay for fantastic public services and that you're able to make investments in the NHS. That is the heart of our one nation philosophy, isn't it? It's very, very simple. But they don't seem to understand it. This Labour Party, this Corbyn and McDonnell, I should say, they don't understand it. They don't get it. Look, whether it's Corbyn, McDonnell, Rabbit at one time or another, they have said that they are against stop and search by the police, that they would let prisoners out early, they'd scrap our armed forces, that was Corbyn's contribution. They would ban MI5, I think that was Diane Abbott, and they would abandon NATO. That's Corbyn again. And as for John McDonnell, he said that his ambition as Chancellor of the Exchequer of this country is to foment the destruction of capitalism, my friends. And I cannot think that that is the right way forward for this country. All Labour governments end in economic disaster. These guys, if they were to get in, would start with an economic disaster. So now is the time. Now is the time to give that madness a miss. Now is the time for this amazing country to come together and to remember, by the here in this Olympic Park, to remember what it is capable of achieving. And I urge you all to fan out from this great athletic venue at a lick, top speed. And by the way, I won't hesitate to remind you, since people sometimes ask, about my record of delivery. This is one of the many hundreds of pieces of colossal infrastructure that you're standing in that I helped to deliver on time, on budget, in what I think was the most successful Olympic Games ever. Let's get out from this place. Let's get out, let's go forward from this place. Let's go forward from this place. Let's fan out and make that final sprint towards a golden future for the United Kingdom. Because we have 24 hours to end the deadlock, 24 hours to break the gridlock, 24 hours in which we can remove the parliamentary roadblock and get a working majority for a sensible, moderate, dynamic, one-nation conservative government, investing massively in the NHS, cutting the cost of living and getting a parliament that works for you. That is the opportunity, my friends, that is before us tomorrow. That's what we can do. Let's make sure we don't waste a minute between now and 10 o'clock tomorrow. Let's talk to every one of our friends. Let's make sure we reach out to every one of our neighbours and encourage them to do the right thing tomorrow. And let's make sure that we give our children and our grandchildren the future they deserve in this country. Let's be carbon neutral, as I say, by 2050. Let's be carbon neutral by 2050 and Corbyn neutral by Christmas. And we can do it. We can do it. Let's get Brexit done and take this. Let's get Brexit done and take this incredible country forwards together. Thank you all very much for coming along tonight. Thank you.